right, let's take any seat that is comfortable to you. Feel free to give yourself support. My hips are feeling extra tight today, so I'm gonna give them a little love. It's Valentine's Day. So we were talking about ways to challenge ourselves or to invite ourselves to find a way to be loving to ourselves today, because we know we'll be more loving to others if we learn how to love ourselves. I know we've talked about that before, but I really find that to be true, so worth repeating. I'm going to invite you onto your mat, whatever seat you like, get comfortable. Find your sense of balance and a place that you can hold with peace for a little while. And then we'll just tune into the breath. Letting it anchor us in both our physical experience and the moment. Because the breath is always in a state of change. To stay with it, we have to be in the moment. Ready, drawing the hands together at the heart. Bowing the head, appreciating yourself for just a moment. Our culture is focused on our lack, our deficits, but just for a moment, can you give yourself a little appreciation? And then we'll lift our head and just imagine that for a moment you could put on some rose-colored glasses that invite you to also see, in addition to all those nitpicky things that we have about ourselves and the world, also balance it out by looking for some of those little jewels of light. Okay, beautiful. Welcome. So happy to be with you. I was thinking this week when I was planning about why, because it's kind of weird to me, why we name so many poses after warriors. And I just thought, it's like all of our allegorical teaching things. There's a lesson contained within it for us. And so I was pondering on what makes the ideal warrior. And I'm just going to say up front, for those of us for whom the term warrior is prickly, myself among them, I am a warrior for love. So that's kind of appropriate for Valentine's Day. What would the ideal qualities of a warrior be? Someone who's strong and solid. They do have a strong body. So in yoga on the mat, we try to cultivate that strong body, and that's part of cultivating a strong mind, a strong emotion, a strong whole structure, one that is connected to our whole self. And when we're connected, we can more easily feel that sense of grounding and completeness that allows us to respond more skillfully to the world. Which brings me to the next thing, which is integrity. The warrior has integrity. If you imbue someone with the powers of a warrior, you sure hope that they're acting with integrity. They are able to be focused when it's important, focused and disciplined and determined, able to stay present. So imagine being a warrior in the woods and being distracted. That wouldn't work, would it? We need to stay present. And that leads us to being able to respond nimbly to whatever situation arises, including seeking out information, tools, situations that we can use to our advantage, that we can learn and grow from. So to do that, we have to be able to release our focus on what we don't have and be grateful and open to what's available. And sometimes even difficulties present us with opportunities. So, not acknowledging that we don't always understand what they bring us, but being open to the possibility that there's something we might get from everything we encounter. So going back to my warrior analogy, if you're focused on not having the correct weapon, that can be, you can just only focus on that, or you can look around and say, oh, but I could adapt and do this to respond to whatever situation I'm in. All right, so that's why we look at the warrior as a possibility of a lesson teacher for us. And so as we sit just quietly for another few moments, I'll ask you to think about what those qualities mean to you and how you might bring them into your life. And as you do, I'll give you another image, one that might feel more comfortable to some of us, and that is of a plant. Let's go back to the woods and think about being a tree in the woods. Sending your roots down and lifting your trunk up, extending the canopy out. The tree doesn't worry about what it doesn't have. It works with what it does. It might adjust, it might reach over to the light in a different way. My granny used to say, bloom where you are planted. And that's what I think a warrior can do. They find the ways to be as strong and capable of sharing their gifts as the flower blooming where it's planted, as the tree in the woods. I think just a few more breaths, cultivating your sense of stability. Just noticing what your baseline is at this moment. You might need to move. Maybe your body needs to move. Maybe it wants to be quiet. Just noticing, and that's part of cultivating our flexibility, our resilience, is really beautiful, noticing what is now. Not what don't I have now? What do I want later? What do I have now? How can I engage with now to bring myself forth in the best way? How do I shine myself forward in this moment? Ready, we'll let the eyes open, the gaze lift. And we're going to just play with a little bit of gentle movement. If you were in Sukhasana, you might change the cross of your legs just for a little balance. If you need to change your seat, feel free to do that. That's part of the paying attention we're always cultivating in our practice. And then once you're settled, if you needed to change, let's find that sense of balance again. And then we're going to do a little bit of side stretching. And so I'm going to encourage you to make this side stretch whatever you need it to be, not what you think it should look like, but what is the soil of your body, you're the soil, presenting to you today. Let's see, I'm tired if I move over. I'm not gonna go any further today. I'm gonna stay up here a little bit. Maybe I'll be here for a little while. Where does my arm want to be in this stretch as I begin to feel my way into this circumstance, reading, engaging? What am I working with and what do I want to work toward? There we go. And then finding a place where you can be somewhat comfortably for a little while. You might feel your body chatting with you, letting you know that, wow, this is a stretch today. Staying in that place versus the one where your body tightens and grips. So listening, communicating, responding to the body's feedback. And then lifting up and out and just taking a moment to feel what's happened on that side versus the other side. And then we'll do the same thing, exploring the other side, knowing that it might not be the same as the first side. So playing with your range of movement, where your body needs to hold or stretch or move. Eventually finding your way into the stretch that suits you in this moment. Breathing into the side ribs, into the side waist. And then pressing through the hand that supports you, the one near the floor, and then coming up and out. Ooh, good. And then noticing if your body wants you to move in any particular way. Good. Good. So we're just waking up to our reality. What's happening with this body of ours today? Let's play with this one. Let's take a strap. We're going to do a variation of the Gomukhasana arms. And so we'll take that strap on one shoulder. Doesn't matter which side you start on. We're doing both. And then the side on which you have your strap, let's extend that arm out with the palm up, out from the shoulder, palm up. And let's just roll that arm forward and back a couple of times and just begin to feel that range of movement. Getting a little blood flow in the shoulder girdle. And then we'll lift the arm up as high as it's possible for you today. It might be over here, might be up here, and then we'll bend the elbow. And let's imagine we could lengthen the tricep up, 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 and then soften the shoulder on that side down. Good. All right. And then we'll take the other arm out from the shoulder, but this time with the palm facing down. And then we'll turn the palm back and up any amount that it will go. And so let's rotate the arm in, forward and back a couple of times in that range of motion. And then again, palm down, back and up. And then we'll take that arm behind the body and up the back. And if you can, link your fingers together. If not, we have this lovely strap already sitting there ready for action. So this is, again, what the warrior would do. They would use the tools available so that they get the most promising experience. They get the, they achieve their goal most effectively. Pushing yourself to a place that your body can't do won't actually allow your body to stretch. So using tools is helpful until they're not. If the tools become a crutch, then we know it's time to challenge ourselves a little bit. So see what you can do here and just explore. Use the tool if it's helpful. And then let's do this. Let's jut the chin forward and then slide the base of the skull back. And then turn your head opposite the direction of the lifted elbow and look down towards your hip. Now you might be feeling some pretty intense stretching in your shoulder. So maybe lift your head up a little bit. You don't have to look all the way down to the floor. Seeing if you can invite some softness into whatever shape you've landed in. Breathing. Softening whatever isn't required to do this stretch. For instance, you don't need to clench your jaw in order to do this stretch. And then let's bring the head up and let it look forward. And then we'll release the strap. Ooh, and move the arms. Ah, excellent. All right, let's take the strap to the other side. But before we leap right into the stretch, let's feel the two sides of the body again. So when we listen for that feedback, oh, what effect did that have in our body? It helps us to adjust for this other side, right? Okay, so let's extend the arm out from the shoulder, palm facing up. You can again roll the hand forward and back from the upper arm, forward and back a couple of times. Yep, just kind of letting your nervous system know, oh, shoulder, this is where we'll be working today. And then lifting the arm up, letting the elbow bend, softening the shoulder down. Good, other hand reaching out from the shoulder, palm facing down. And then let's roll the arm up, forward and back again. The palm will go up, down and back. All right, and then we'll land with the palm down and back and up. And we'll take that arm and sweep it back behind us. So the other side, I have a lot more mobility. This side, boy, do I use my strap. And I'm just going to explore the edges. Can I walk my hands a little closer together? Right now, they're about a foot apart, I think. I can't see it, but that's what it feels like. Whereas on the other side, my hands were pretty much together. So now we're working with where we are. Let's relax the shoulders. We're using our core to keep the spine lifted, the heart lifted, and then we'll jut the chin forward, slide the base of the skull back, and then turn the head opposite the direction of the lifted arm, or the lifted elbow. And you could explore letting the chin inch downward a little bit in the direction of your hip. Breathing softness, the possibility of release to every part that's working hard now. And then letting the head come up and come forward, releasing the arms, and then seeing what they need. What do your arms need in terms of movement? Did your shoulders really feel kind of creaky there? Wow, let's set our strap aside. And all right, we're going to make our way to our feet. So you can set aside any props you were using, get them out of the way so they aren't a trip hazard. And then we'll make our way up. All right, so I'm going to face the short end of my mat, and I'll show you just briefly what we'll be doing. We're going to do what I call it waterfall forward fold. That's my own name. That's just, I like the imagery of it. So the way this comes together is that we take the tops of our hands, and it's as if we were resisting against a powerful waterfall. So we're resisting the hands up. The elbows can be kind of soft, because think about it, if there was a force of water, you wouldn't want the arms straight, it would put pressure on those joints. So just keep the joint fluid and just let the hands resist against that imaginary waterfall. And then when you get to the top of the waterfall, let the hands come down with the force of the water. You can go ahead and try that with me. We'll just do that a couple of times. With your breath, inhaling, we'll bring the arms up, and exhaling, we'll let the arms come down. Can you imagine the smells? I imagine being in a little forest with a pool of water and this beautiful waterfall spilling down, what it would smell like and sound like and feel like there. What the air temperature feels like. There we go, good. Okay, now we're gonna add to this, and this is what the next part looks like. I'm gonna place my hands on my thighs and use this pressure to traction and lift the spine up and broaden the chest. And yet we don't want to pop, so we're going to continue to use the core. So we'll feel that broad and strong. And it's like you're steeling yourself, getting ready to dive into that pool. So that's where our forward fold will occur. And your forward fold might come off of bent knees. It might come a couple of inches or quite deep, but we're all keeping the low back nice and strong and supported. And you can either stay with the spine long, or you could round your spine. So there's your forward fold. And then imagine you dived into the pool and you're on the bottom, you're exploring, looking around, and then you push with your feet and the strength of your legs up, back up to the surface. So the spine is lifted in one piece. And we'll lift up to the sun, hello sun, and come back to our mountain pose. So that's what it looks like. Shall we do it together about 3 times at your own pace? And you can feel free in any part of this to explore a little more. So you can stay longer, for instance, in the forward fold or any part of the movement that serves you today. All right, with your breath, inhaling. Extending the arms up. On your out breath, letting the hands flow down. Poising yourself at the edge of your pool, getting strong and solid, knowing where you're going, and then fold forward into your pool. And then you can take a little while. Imagine you're in that water. Explore your movement, maybe bending and straightening the legs a little, maybe lifting opposite heels, and just playing here, exploring. And when you feel ready to come out, push as if you're jumping off the bottom of the pool and coming up to the surface. All right, 2 more times at your own pace. when you've completed all 3 cycles of your waterfall forward folds, just join me in Tadasana. And we'll all arrive here at different times because we're playing with this differently, experiencing it differently. So now from here, we're going to continue facing the short end of the mat, but I'm going to invite you to bring either a chair onto the edge of the mat or your blocks, because eventually we're going to get into a low lunge. Not right away, but eventually, and then you'll be set and you won't have to interrupt yourself. So we'll join here together, facing the short end of the mat. And if balance is a challenge to you, feel free to turn your mat adjacent to a wall or to bring a chair over to the side so that you can just rest your hand on it for a little bit of support, because some of us have arthritis in the feet or old injuries in the ankle, etc. And we're working with a tool if it's useful to you. All right, so we're going to start with balancing. We'll play with some balance. So finding the stability of your mountain pose. And then bringing your weight onto one foot or the other. And letting the other heel float away from the floor. So your balance today might be this. You don't have the full support of both feet. And so the supporting foot has to work harder, and you can feel your ankles and feet making adjustments. If you care to challenge your body differently, you could lift the knee up and take the foot up off the floor. And then again, noticing how your body has to adjust to this. All the little micro movements. Good, and then we're going to step that non-supporting foot back. Maybe you could do it in pieces, maybe you come back in one piece, and then we'll plant that back heel all the way out of the floor, so round the heel all the way down. And just for a moment, let's straighten both legs and feel the internal rotation of both legs. Lift the toes of that front foot, spread them wide, and then bring the toes back down to the floor and feel the toe mounds pressing to the floor inside of the foot and the outside of the foot equally, reaching towards the earth, and use that to help you engage this quadricep for a moment. And then let's bring our hands to the pelvic bowl and spill the bowl forward. Feel what that feels like. And then lift the front edge of the bowl up and notice if you feel any stretching in the back leg's hamstring, which I wouldn't be surprised by. Our culture, we sit and this hamstring can shorten. And then let's push off the back heel to bend the front knee. Good, and in the meantime, this back leg is continuing to roll in and we're supporting our core. How does that feel? So this is the foundation for Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1. So I thought we may as well put some warriors in the class honoring them. And then let's take the arms out to the sides, just like this. Spread your fingers like they're shooting rays of sunbeams out through the fingers. And then do the opposite. Grip and close your fists. And then shoot the sunbeams and make a fist. 2 fists. So 3 more times, just like that. What we're doing is we're working the joints of the hands. We're strengthening the shoulders, having the arms out here. And what I've been reading about is how shoulder strength correlates to grip strength, which both diminish as we age. So here we are. And then the joints aren't getting fluids because the hands get painful and we stop using them. So there's a nice circular action that causes entropy, right? And then bring the hands back down to the hips, pop up onto the ball of the back foot, and you can step your feet together. Ah, okay, just walk around for a moment because that back hip flexor might have been feeling, wow, that was a big stretch, right? So just move how your body wants you to move. And we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. And so we'll take our weight onto the other foot, whatever that was for you, I didn't tell you which one. And then unload the opposite foot, lifting the heel up, maybe coming onto the toe or lifting the foot off the floor entirely. Appreciating all the ways in which your nervous system is creating new neural pathways as it adjusts. Every time your foot sways to one side, your whole nervous system had to send messages to balance it out so that the foot could adjust. This is our resilience, and I'm appreciating my foot's resilience right now. Even if it means I'm swaying and bobbing and sometimes having to put the foot back down. That's all part of the journey, and that's all okay. Thank you, body. Thank you, nervous system. Thank you. Thank you, body. All right, and when you're ready, extend that back foot, that lifted foot back, and then take the heel all the way to the floor. So feel that nice stretch. And if you want to, you could bend that back knee a little bit and just feel the stretch to the Achilles that you're getting. Oh, that feels good. And then we'll straighten both legs, both thighs roll in. And here again, we're going to neutralize the pelvis. So rather than tipping it forward, we're going to let the hip points point straight ahead to the best of our ability, using our core to help the pelvis maintain this shape, this positioning. And then we'll bend the front knee as we push off the back heel. And I'm going to do this towards you for a moment because I want you to see a lot of us, when we come into this pose, the back leg pulls the hip back a little bit. That is okay. Some hips turn all the way forward, some move somewhat to the side. Wherever you are, just turn to face the front knee from the waistline to finish the turn. So wherever you are is fine. We're just working here. There we go. And now let's extend our arms out in front of us, and they can be down towards the floor. They can come up, maybe shoulder height. Maybe you want to explore bringing them up overhead, noticing whether that disrupts your lower foundation's integrity. And if it does, easing back out of it somewhat. And then we'll once more shoot raise out of our fingertips and make a fist. So go ahead and do that 4 or 5 times consciously. Good. And then letting the hands come down, we'll come up on the ball of the back foot and step the feet together. Excellent. Any counter movements your body needs, go ahead and take them. And while you're doing that, I'll show you where we'll go next, which is to once again, balance. And then we'll take one foot back, but this time we're going to be on the ball of the back foot. We're going to again use the core so that this part of our spine stays long as we fold forward into a low lunge. So your low lunge could be using a chair. You could bring it even closer and use the back of the chair. Your blocks are a nice little tool. Maybe you're down lower, maybe you're up higher. But I'm going to invite you to join me here. Okay, so go ahead and play with what height is working for me today. And when you're ready, then we'll do it all together. All right. Will you bring your weight onto your right foot, please? And then we'll lift the knee up again. Or just lift up onto the ball of the foot, maybe the tip of the toe. Use your core. This is the key to your stability right now as you swing that unloaded leg back. And you'll take the ball of the foot on the floor. We're going to straighten the back leg. Use your core and extend your spine. So here's our low lunge, and I know this challenges us sometimes. Let's see if we can be here with a sense of balance and reasonable effort. That's what I'm going to call it, reasonable effort. We haven't crossed into a place where we're gasping or unable to maintain it. But it's not so easy that it doesn't feel like you're doing anything. Good. Imagine your inner thighs have magnets and they're pulling the two inner thighs towards one another. And now let's bring one hand to the seat of the chair, the back of the chair, or to the block on the left side. And then bring the right hand to the right hip. And so feel the length of your spine and then turn to the right. And here again, we'll need to hug the outer hips to the midline, the sitting bones to the midline. And the hand can remain on the hip. You could explore taking it up towards the sky, which will add a much greater lever to this movement and make it harder for your obliques. So again, this might suit you with the arm up and it might not. So exploring what works best in your body today. And then untwisting, and we'll take the back knee down to the floor or and transition back into a down dog, or take your feet together and do your down dog at the wall or with your chair. Okay, so finding your down dog. Using it like a dog does in the morning. My dog does this every single morning, and it's this beautiful stretch. So feel the lengthening stretch of your spine. If you need to bend your knees to make this more comfortable and to keep the spine long, that's beautiful, do that. You can play towards straighter legs, but there's no gold star for getting straight legs. Especially if you've done it at the expense of your back. Or if straightening your legs pushes you forward onto your hands and strains your shoulders. So let's keep the spine long and the hip crease able to reach back from the hands. And when you're ready, we'll come back to bringing our feet together on the mat, facing the short end of the mat. So you can do that from whatever down dog you did. Come back here, please. All right, so we were standing on our right foot before, so this time we're going to bring our weight onto the left foot and unweight the right foot. Any degree that suits you today. And when you're ready, we'll step that foot back and bring ourselves into the low lunge. So now this time the right hand will bear some weight. So you want to bring that hand underneath the shoulder. And then the left hand to the left hip. And we'll twist, turning the navel to the left. Again, hand can remain on the hip. It could reach to the sky. If your body needs more challenge, you could reach the hand behind the body, wrap it on your hip, and twist a little more deeply. And some of us will want that, some of us will not. So finding that place that suits your body today. Untwisting. Stepping the feet together. And either coming into your down dog or a forward fold or any other shape that's restful to you. So that's what this next shape is for, is to give yourself a sense of going inward. Then gather your focus and use it to bring yourself back into mountain pose. Let's just take a moment in our mountain pose and notice how stable we feel or not, what the breath's qualities are. Do you feel like you're stable between the 2 feet? Do the legs feel like your tree trunk? Strong. Is your core supporting the lift of your heart? Remember when we were rolling our upper arms, at the time it was forward and back? Let's imagine rolling the arms inward and feel how that curves your upper shoulder area and your upper chest. And then roll the upper arms back and feel how that opens. And how, if you're flexible in this part of your body, it sometimes can cause you to over arch. So keeping the support of the low body, here we are cultivating our integrity physically. Good. And then just keeping the chest open and broad. Let's just turn the palms inward. And if you can, and it won't be available to us all, soften your gaze on the floor, maybe down ahead of you on the floor, or close your eyes. And just see if you can still maintain a sense of stability. Beautiful, and then we'll open the eyes. Good job. Okay, so from here, we're going to turn, if you haven't already, to face the long edge of your mat. Because we're going to do a little warrior 2 pose now. Yeah, let's do that. So when we move to this extended wide leg pose, you can do that in a couple of ways. All of us are doing it from slightly bent knees. So I might walk my feet apart. And when I come out, I bend my knees just a little bit, walk my feet together, or I could jump and land. But either way, I take off of bent knees, I land on soft knees. Okay, so let's all come into this wide leg stance, however you choose to get here. Excellent. All right, so this is Virabhadrasana 2, our warrior 2. Let's turn the right leg out 90 degrees. Inhale, get that sense of our Tadasana upper body. And then exhale and bend that right knee. And let's just do that a couple times. Inhaling to straighten, exhaling to bend. Just beginning to get some synovial fluid in this hip and knee. Beautiful, beginning to stretch and lengthen the inner thigh muscles. And then let's come into this shape where the knee is bent. And then just like in Warrior One, the hip may pull back from this bent knee, or it might roll forward a little bit. Let's find that happy place where this bent knee is poised right over the middle of the foot. For some of us, that will mean this back hip comes forward a little bit. This is more important than the hip shape position. So let's look at the knee, look down, you should be able to see your big toe. And then just turn your navel away from that bent knee so that we are perpendicular to it. Good. And then I'm going to ask you to bring your hands in front of your heart. Inhale. Exhale and widen the hands apart. We're going to do that a few more times. You ready? Again, creating some shoulder strength as we open up the chest. And coincidentally, the lung meridian. So for those of you who are in cold weather, keeping the lungs and the chest open is really important right now. Okay, and now let's just turn the palms down. Take your hand to the back leg, turn your other palm, the one that's over the bent leg, upward, reach up and back. So this is reverse warrior. If this quadricep is starting to get tired on the bent leg, you can unbend a little. And then lift up and out. And now bring the arms back to our warrior shape. And then let one hand come to the bent leg. And you can either bring your hand to your hip and float the side ribs over the bent leg. Or you could bring your hand to your shoulder or your head and work here. Or let the arm come up overhead. So see what suits you best today. But we're all going to continue opening. Imagining there's a big spotlight in your armpit and you want to shine the light. So if I'm here, I'm still opening the armpit. If I'm here, I'm imagining, oops, I want to squeak that armpit light out. It's a weird image, isn't it? I'm a little funky, I know. Okay, and then press up and out. Ooh, okay, let's turn the feet forward, toe heel the feet a little closer together, soften the knees, and walk or jump the legs back together. Wow, okay, so yes, I know there were parts of your body really working hard there. Let's just take a moment to absorb that work. Have a little appreciation for how well you listened, you stayed in the moment, listened to your body, made the adjustments that it needed, pushed it without straining it. And when you're ready, we'll inhale, soften the knees, bring the arms to the chest, and walk or jump the feet apart. Good, so we're going to go the opposite direction now. Inhaling, exhaling into the bent leg shape of warrior two. And we'll just do that 2 more times, just beginning to inform the body of where we're taking it. And then come into your warrior two. And here again, we'll turn the navel away from the bent knee, making sure that you could see your big toe. That means that your knee is facing the middle of your foot, which is where we want it to be aligned. Beautiful. And now instead of taking our arms out in front of us, we're going to bring the arms up overhead. Now your overhead can be forward of the body. It can be as wide as you want it. But we'll inhale the arms up. And maintaining the integrity of the lower body. One more time. Ah, beautiful. Let's bring the arms out into warrior two. Come into our reverse warrior. The hand that was floating over the bent knee is now lifted towards the sky. We're reaching through the side body, breathing into those side ribs. And then coming out and floating the ribs over the bent leg. And deciding, how are you going to beam your armpit light out? With the hand on the hip, hand behind the head, hand reaching over the ear. What's going to suit you this side? And you might just play with dropping your ear towards your shoulder, lifting it away until you feel like your head is somewhere in that midpoint where the spine is long. And now push through the bent leg, lift through that top hand and come up and out. Again, turning the feet forward, and we'll just toe heel the feet together and step together into Tadasana. Feeling the blood flow, the energy flowing through the body in places that sometimes get creaky. All right, now before we come to the floor, I'd like to do one more thing standing here, and we'll use a little patch of wall. We're going to do a variation of the plank. I've mentioned to you that we're developing a little bit of shoulder strength and openness today, which helps affect our wrist and grip strength. And part of that now is to load the shoulder to bear some of our weight. So the way we'll do it is at the wall, we'll take our palms to the wall and stand close enough so that you can straighten your arms and still reach the wall and have your arms meet the shoulder. All right, so will you join me here, and then we'll walk through what's coming next. So the body feels like Tadasana. The arms just happen to be ahead of us. Now push into the wall and draw your heart back away from the wall. Notice how you're rounding your upper back and you've disconnected your upper arm bone from the shoulder girdle. So now let's take the heart forward and plug the arms into the shoulder girdle. That's what we want to feel. And then we'll slide the hands down maybe 4 or 5 inches and walk the feet back a corresponding amount. And now here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to tip your hip points forward to the floor. Do you feel how your bottom pops back and you've got a big arch in your back? So now I'm going to ask you to lift the hip points and imagine scooping the tailbone forward and up towards your navel. And then straighten the legs and firm through the legs. Now your core is really active. Your shoulders are working to hold you. And I hope you're feeling relatively solid. If this is too much strain for your body, come a little closer to the wall. If your body's not feeling a lot of effort, walk your hands down lower and come further away from the wall. And then make sure that you're still in a straight line. And the longer you hold this, the more likely it is that you'll lose your abdominal support. So let's re-engage the core muscles. And come out. Let's give the wrists a little love, maybe turning some circles, or maybe shaking them off. How'd that feel? Does that work? So we know what the plank pose looks like. This is one variation. You can do this on your countertop. I like to do this on my countertop sometimes. You can do it on your chair. So here I am, this is a little more gravity versus doing it on the floor. We've done variations where we take the hands forward, shoulders down, and we work here, or this is what it looks like on the floor. So now you've seen all these different variations. I'm going to ask you to do one more plank. You get to choose what plank suits you today. So you might start in one plank and say, I don't think so. I'm going to change this. Okay, so let's explore your plank today, where you want your plank to work. So we want the body in a straight line. The legs are active, the core is engaged. The arms are beautifully in contact with the shoulder girdle. And we're holding this, but able to breathe. All right, and come out. And will you take your hands together, please? And then pull the elbows up. And we'll send the hands down through the heart center. And we're just stretching the underside of the wrist. Do you feel that? Oh, a few breaths right here. And then we'll turn the palms down and take the tops of the palms, the hands together. And then send the elbows down and the wrists up. Now you're stretching the top side of your wrist. Do you feel that? And now let's just make a circle. Oh, maybe the opposite direction. Maybe shake a little bit. Excellent. Okay, good. I would like to encourage soft knees, and just for a moment, spreading the hands wide again, and then I want you to give yourself a hug and then lift the elbows up a little bit. This is just a stretch for some of the deltoid muscles in the shoulder that we're doing some good work for us. And then release. Take the hands apart wide, and now take the other hand, other arm on top. Give yourself a hug. Let the elbows soften down, and then lift them up. Ooh, okay, so what happens in our culture where we sit and we're doing forward work? So I'm a big reader. I'm constantly like this, holding material ahead of me, or I'm on my computer, or cooking, washing dishes, doing you get the idea, driving. So what happens is our pec minor, this group right here that attaches to the front of the shoulder and then into the pectoral group here, gets really short and tight. Now that can pull on the bicep chain right here and all the way down to the wrist and the hands, which is why if I ask you to, and you can do it with me, take your elbows out to the sides and your palms face out. Relax the shoulders. Let's take them in a circle and then take the shoulders down. And you begin to press like you're pushing the walls apart. You might start to feel this in the underside of the arm and into the wrist. Anyone feel that? So if you're really feeling this profoundly, the chances are that this whole pathway is closed down and tight. And it is characterized by this shoulder always wanting to be forward a little bit. And you see a lot of women, especially in this shape. Oh, men too, though. Okay, so let's work here for just a moment. Working the hand in the wrist is flexed. We're pressing through the heel of the hand, breathing. And then turn the fingers to the floor. And now we're reaching through the the top of the wrist. And then releasing. All right, so now I'm going to encourage you to start to get to feel in this part of your body how tight it is. What do you feel here? So if you extend your arm out to the side a little bit and you gently press in, are there any really tender areas? If there are, chances are, okay, so I just found one. Oh, this is a tight spot for me. So I'm just gonna give it a little bit of like gentle self-massage. And I might play around until I find another really tender spot. Oh, found another one at the top here. So I'm just gonna gently encourage this area to release. Yeah, so you can just play and it's gonna be different for all of us, this whole region here. And then just let that arm come down and feel what this side feels like. Is there some blood flow moving in there? Can you feel some tingling, for instance? I know I do. So let's explore the other side, which may be completely different because how we use our dominant hand side is different from the one that's always carrying heavy stuff, for instance. We tend to save the dominant hand side for fine-tuned stuff, and the other has to do all the heavy lifting. Unless you had an injury or something that required you to make an adaptation and you had to do it differently. What do you find on this side? Can you breathe? Is this so tight that you don't want to breathe, that you're holding your breath? Okay, and release. All right, so I've changed my mind. We're doing one more standing thing before we come on down. So we sometimes do this thing where we, or I call it the wall clock, where one hand is up here. If this was 12 o'clock on the wall, I would come back 15 minutes or so. So I might come 5 minutes at a time until I'm quarter to the hour or quarter past the hour. So that's what we'll do. We'll start with our hand up on the wall and then walk the hand back behind as if we were going down 5 minutes. Now, you may be finding that area that we were just exploring is really tight. So you might need to move angle towards the body, just the wall just a little bit. Or you might say, oh, I'm feeling into this stretch. It feels really awesome. And you might turn away from the wall a little bit. How close or far from the wall you are also affects the quality of this stretch. Okay, so now let's come down another 10 minutes. And breathe expansiveness into this area of the front body. And then we'll come to either quarter to the hour or quarter past the hour, depending on what side you started on. And now will you come close enough to the wall that you can place your hand flat on the wall? And yes, that will change pretty dramatically the experience of the stretch. Can you make sure that the shoulder is still on the back and not hiked up, please? And now just turn your palm down to the floor for a moment. And release the hand down. Oh, it's a sensation. Feel that work in your shoulders, your chest, the upper arm, feel that. So your body's thanking you because you went into a place that probably was a little bound down. And so we're just going to go to the other side and invite that to open to the extent that it's permitted today. So again, 12 o'clock. Let the shoulder relax down from the ear and come back 5 minutes. And then come 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. So now you're half or a quarter past or quarter of the hour. We're going to take the palm to the wall. Spread the fingers wide. And now turn the palm down towards the floor. So now the thumb is on the wall. Or the side of the thumb, and maybe the thumb is pointing down to the floor, but the palm is facing to the floor. All right, let's give the shoulders a little round. Little movement forward and back. Ooh, so I don't know about you, but I have met some really creakier places, and I've been happy to take out my oil can and give them a little oil. Okay, so now you have earned your Shavasana. Do you want to choose a resting pose that allows your body to let go and relax? So whatever that looks like for you. Maybe your legs are up the wall. Maybe you're lying on the floor with your hands and feet just spread apart. Maybe there's something behind your knees, or I like, one of my favorites is knees up on, or legs up on the chair here. So finding that place that allows your body to go, oh, phew, I can let go. And as you're setting it up, I'm going to just share a few last couple thoughts. To be powerful like that warrior archetype that we invoked today, you must deal with and embrace what is. Not what used to be, not what you wish was happening, what is right now in this moment. At our best, we see even challenges as opportunities to grow and adapt. And it's funny to me, you know, how lessons that you need just come to you. Sometimes I've been getting, people have been sending me, someone sent me a podcast, someone else sent me an article. I was doing some research on this. Ding, 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 ding. Being with what is, even the things that challenge us, first of all, is emotional maturity, psychological maturity. Because we're not resisting and making our world harder than it has to be. But actually inviting it in, even the challenging things, really gives us an opportunity to hear the messages of whatever it is we needed to experience. I'm going to give the example of emotion and anger, for instance. It can teach us our worth. I deserve better than that. No one should treat me like that, for instance. Or what needs changing? You're angry about a situation and you realize, oh, I actually have to respond in different ways so that I'm not continually in this situation again, right? It might teach you about your boundaries, what you care about. This makes me angry, I really must care about it. Okay, so all of our emotions, even the ones that aren't as pleasant, and all of our experiences can give us opportunities for growth. Now, let's be real. Some challenges just are horrible flukes and they happen and no one would want it. You know, I give examples of nature, tornadoes and hurricanes as examples. But a lot of what we experience is at least subconsciously of our own making, because we didn't get the lesson from the first time it came around to us. And sure enough, we need to get it again. So if you ever needed incentive to take care of your business, this is it. I don't want to do this over and over and over again. But the reality also is that life is about constancy of change. We We are born, we grow, we have all these experiences, and we will die. Just like the strongest plant out there, it has that same cycle. Learning to be with where we are in our own process, in our own cycle, whatever is coming to us, and not fighting and resisting it gives us immeasurable strength and actually also peace. So as you take your last few moments to just dwell in silence, know that you are the tree, the mighty oak. You are the warrior goddess. You have what you need to shine your gifts into the world. As you prepare to transition eventually into your seated shape, I invite you to imagine pulling on and drawing all your sense of stability and strength right to your center, maybe down to your belly. And imagine that will pouring through you, working perfectly with all the rest of you to find your focus and your strength and your courage and your joy. Let's come into that seat, transitioning physically. Settling yourself once more in a balanced, lifted, strong, and stable shape. And I'm going to share this beautiful poem that I found recently by Donna Ashworth. It's called "You Don't Move On." She's speaking specifically to grief, but it's true of all emotions. You don't move on, but you must move with. You must shake hands with grief, welcome her in, for she lives with you now. Pull her a chair at the table and offer her comfort. She is not the monster you first thought her to be. She is love. And she will walk with you now peacefully if you let her. Is that beautiful? The idea that all of these motions are always there within us and certain things awaken them. Are they going to grip and hold us? Are we going to run for them and then they just follow us like a big monster? Or are we going to welcome them and welcome the gifts of even the emotions that challenge us? The opposite of grief, or grief wouldn't be possible if we didn't love deeply. Anger, fear, joy, they're all with us at all times. So I invite you now just to take a moment to peacefully be with what is within you at all times, all of it. When you're ready, please bring your hands somewhere to the front of your body. We'll just take a moment to express our gratitude to one another, to ourselves. Namaste. Thank you so much for journeying together.